You want 911 dispatchers to have the latest technology when you call in an emergency.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely. But many 911 call centers need to be upgraded, and that can be expensive. And 911 directors in the Capital Region say they're not getting much help.
Well, Emily Burkhart did some digging and found that you are paying for that help. So why isn't the money going to the upgrades? Emily joins us now with her Waste Watchers investigation.
Bonita, Jim, wireless carriers collect a fee from every active cell phone line each month. The money then goes to the state for distribution, but a new report from the Federal Communication Commission says New York kept 90% of the nearly $200 million collected in 2017. The state says over $100 million went toward funding public safety grants, but local sheriffs say it's not enough.
Warren County Sheriff Bud York says the $1.20 public safety surcharge collected from every cell phone line in New York
911 location of emergencies
was originally meant to fund upgrades to 911 call centers. But York says for years the state has been allocating a majority of that money to the general fund or other public safety grant funds instead.
So using it for whatever they deemed necessary. So they went in and changed the law to make it public safety so we can use it for whatever. But that tax was originally for the 911 centers.
An FCC report released late last year found in 2017 New York collected $189 million in public safety communication surcharges. Of that, $79 million, or about 42%, was diverted into the state's general fund. $32 million went to state police and an emergency loan fund. $75 million went to municipalities to develop and consolidate public safety operations. $10 million of that went to public safety answering point grants specifically, which the FCC says is the only 911 related project. So, under their guidelines, only 10 of the $189 million collected was spent properly.
It's not right. I've never felt it was fair, and it's not fair.
We reached out to the Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, the agency responsible for awarding these grants, but they referred us to the Department of Budget. A DOB spokesperson informed us that under New York state tax law, the general fund receives 41.7% of the revenue from this fee, as the general fund is the primary funding source for the state's public safety activities. DOB says allocating some of that money to fund upgrades for public safety communication and emergency service operations is providing critical funding to help first responders at all levels of government communicate faster and respond sooner. But Warren County Undersheriff Sean Lamry says the funding method pits municipalities against each other.
You are competing with other public safety answering points across the state to get a limited pot of money.
York says his department typically gets about $170,000 from the state for PSAP upgrades each year. Though every little bit helps, he says there's plenty more to go around, and he'd like to see some of it.
If they could give at least $1 million to each 911 center to start, you know, that's $60 million. They still got $140 million left.
And to make matters worse, New York State municipalities can't apply for federal funding to make the upgrades either, because the FCC says New York is violating its spending guidelines. Advocates with the state 911 coordinators say to fix this issue, the tax law needs to be amended or overwritten, and the state needs to be held accountable for misappropriating the funds.